Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled Bennedict Canyon Military Complex Analysis. Alright, before I get started though, I just want to allay your fears. There's been hundreds of videos posted on all social media platforms regarding the collapse of our banking system and the concern of insolvency and that your accounts will be frozen and there'll be a bail-in. A bail-in is where the bank steals your money instead of asking for the government to bail them out or some external force to bail them out. Okay, let me just calm you down a little bit. You should be absolutely concerned about the banking system, the money system. You should be. However, you should be concerned about that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 3 weeks ago, before the FTX fake meltdown of a Sequoia Capital created CIA cryptocurrency psychological operation. You should have been concerned about it, when Doug Leone became a managing director of Sequoia Capital 30 years ago. You should be concerned about the banking system when no one was concerned about it. Okay, it's a complete psychops. The banking system has been insolvent my entire life. Okay. And it was insolvent when they built Hollywood. It was insolvent when they created all those Jewish-controlled studios in Studio City, Burbank, and West Hollywood. The banking system was insolvent then. It was insolvent when we went to war in World War II. The banking system was insolvent then. It was insolvent when we went to the war in Afghanistan after 9/11. The banking system was insolvent before the 9/11 debacle. The banking system was insolvent when Sharon Tate was murdered. The banking system was insolvent when Timothy Leary was sent to West Point. The banking system was insolvent when they murdered Jack Kennedy and blew his brains out in a port facility called Dallas, Texas, in Dealey Plaza, from shooters from the Triple Underpass, which is part of the port facility, which connects to Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles. Yes. Also connects up with the Port of New Orleans. Dallas is a port facility. All intermodal transportation hubs are part of the maritime law port facilities. And you do realize that port facilities function under maritime law. I guess what you should be more concerned about is that the entire place that you consider America functions under maritime law. Your local superior courthouse functions under maritime law. They have the fake, phony American flag in the courtroom, and they talk a lot about Thomas Jefferson and constitutional rights, but they never practice them. And there is no judge in America that knows anything about your Sixth Amendment rights to defend yourself in a court of law and to confront your accusers. That is not allowed under maritime law, and it is not allowed in any court in America. All right, well, anyway, what I want to tell you is the banks will switch us to central digital currency when they decide. I don't believe they'll do it in one move. I think they'll do it very gradually, city by city, zip code by zip code, for fear of blowback. In other words, if they do it all at once, they could get a massive, French Revolution type reaction from the peasants. So I think they're more concerned about building the 5G grid, dumping the chemtrails on us on a daily basis, and making more of our citizens more of zombies than they already are. And then gradually they'll switch us over. I mean, they've already done that, okay? Just so you know, banks don't consider your deposits to be your money. They consider those to be accounts payable. And they'll get around to paying you back your money when the bank decides. And if you don't believe me, just walk into your local bank and ask for $10,000 in cash, in $20 and $50 bills. They will have you sign a dozen forms and wait 45 days before they'll deliver that to you. And there'll be a service charge. In other words, they're not going to give you your money back, okay? And if you had $100 million in the bank and you tried to move a couple million of it, you'll get 16 phone calls from your private bankers and people you don't even know about, are you sure you want to do that? That's called a preservation phone call. It's a fire alarm at a bank. Banks don't like it when you try to transfer their money because it is their money. You say this at cocktail parties, or I used to, and people just don't want to believe you. But, they're wrong and I'm right. I don't know what to tell you. So you shouldn't be any more concerned about the health of the banking system today than you were before the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, or the FTX, which stands for Future Trading Exchange, or Caroline Ellison's Alameda Research. Those are all Sand Hill Road, venture capital, CIA created psychological operations. There could never be a Silicon Valley Bank, and there could never be an FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, without Sand Hill Road and the private bankers whom you don't even know their names. So I'll just give you their names since, the media doesn't want to report. Jerome Kohlberg, Don Valentine, Doug Leone, George Roberts, Henry Kravitz, barbarian at the gate, Dean Jacobson, last person to see Erin Valente alive before she said to her mother, "It's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the Matrix." And I can name another 24 names of people who are associated with Sand Hill Road banks, okay? Anyway, they all live in nearby. They live in Atherton, they live in Portola Valley, they live in Woodside, they live in Los Altos Hills, they live in Belvedere. Tom Perkins, Belvedere, he's dead, so you're not going to go find him. However, they're easy to find that if you just knew their names. They're not hard to find. Or just go to Stanford University and see if you can get past the gate. Because Stanford University knows the names of Henry Kissinger and George Shultz and Sam Bankman-Fried's parents who live on provisional housing on their campus. They're well aware of who it is that you're looking for. Google, YouTube, Amazon. All right, what I wanted to talk about is Bennedict Canyon, because there's just no gift that just keeps on giving, like the Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger murder scene, which we've been conditioned to believe was 10050 Cielo Drive, off Cielo Drive. But the reality is it was Bella Drive. It was always Bella Drive. It's still Bella Drive, even though it's been changed to 10066 Cielo Drive. Still Bella Drive, though, but they call it Cielo Drive. When you examine the perimeter, and I've said there are 3 cul-de-sacs that back up to the murder site for Sharon Tate. Sunbrook Drive, okay, and there are 6 staging houses there now. At the time of the murder, there were 4 houses there, and it couldn't be more confusing. Sunbrook Drive is a cul-de-sac, okay? It's a cul-de-sac, and it's off Angelo Drive. Directly above the Sharon Tate murder scene, there's a cul-de-sac, and that's called Angelo View Drive, which is a cul-de-sac. And Angelo View Drive is off Davies Drive, which is off Angelo Drive, making it hard for you to figure out. The roads that are critically important in examining the Sharon Tate murder are Angelo Drive number 1, Sunbrook Drive number 2, because I believe that's where the killers showered and cleaned up. Davies Drive, Angelo View Drive, which is directly above where Sharon Tate was murdered, Cielo Drive to the east of the subject property, Bella Drive, which is a cul-de-sac, where Doris Duke was residing at the time of the Sharon Tate murder. It is very close to the murder scene. Very close. Like under 400 yards. As the crow flies. It can see into the gate. It would have seen whatever activities were going on at the gate. You could see that from Doris Duke's home at 1436 Bella Drive. That was Rudy Valentino's home before Doris Duke was allowed to live there. And I believe there's a tunnel system in that home. I really do. And I'll tell you, I'll circle back to that in a moment. I believe there's tunnel systems within Bennedict Canyon. And there may be tunnel systems under the Playboy Mansion, which is at the bottom of the hill, and across Sunset Boulevard is the Playboy Mansion in Holmby Hills, which is a part of Bennedict Canyon. It's adjacent to the Los Angeles Country Club, and which is adjacent to where Ben Bugsy Siegel was shot in the head. You remember back in June 1947, shot 9 times, 4 times in the head with a military M1 carbine semi-automatic rifle. Ben Siegel was killed near the Playboy Mansion. Playboy Mansion hadn't been opened yet. The house was there. The house was there. But it wasn't the Playboy Mansion. Playboy Enterprises hadn't been created in 1947. But you should know that all of these military complexes were created when the banking system was insolvent, which is code for the banking system is always insolvent and it never matters because they can make a rabbit come out of a hat. They're in the magic business. It's the Wizard of Oz. Okay? They create fake money. There's only people that can bail a bank out are the banks themselves. That's why they have the Federal Reserve Bank or central banks. There's no such thing as a central bank. It's a creation in your mind that the central bank is going to provide money so that the banks can be solvent. The central banks have no money. So how can they provide money to bail out someone that has no money? The federal government in the United States is insolvent. It has no money. Only money it gets is from the banks who buy their treasury bills, treasury notes, treasury bonds. They just make the money. They create it out of thin air, right? And then you can bail yourself out of thin air. When it's a magic trick, you can do that. That's what central bank digital currency will be. It's fake. It's based on a metric not associated with collateral. It has nothing to do with collateral. Real banking is about having collateral, collateralized lending. We don't have that, okay? Yes, there's collateral in the system. It's insufficient, okay? That's what fractional banking is. The concept of fractional banking, if you didn't know, if you went to Harvard and got an MBA, or you went to Stanford and got an MBA, or you went to Haas Business School, University of California, Berkeley, and you think you're smart, if you believe that fractional banking makes sense, then you're retarded. You're mentally disabled. There's no such thing as fractional banking, okay? There's invention of fiat fake credit. That's real. Of course, it's a fraud. It would be considered counterfeiting if you or I did it. But if you have a license from the fake government in the United States who gets paid from the bank, then you can legally commit fraud. So it's a license to steal. It's a license to commit fraud. That's what banking is, okay? And that's why people come to my channel. I'm the only person talking any kind of sense on the internet regarding the fact that our banking is the Wizard of Oz, and Judy Garland told us so. Follow the yellow brick road or the flying monkeys will get you. The flames coming out of the Moloch lion head, the little old man behind the curtain pulling the levers, little Toto pulling the curtain back. That's banking. What do you not understand? That movie came out in 1939. The banks have never kept their fraudulent activities a secret. It's just people are living in denial. So when you study the Sharon Tate murder scene and you look at all of the homes that could be staging homes and surveillance houses and command and control centers, I'm going to select 1436, the Doris Duke home, as being a command center house. I'm also going to select 1048, the Doppelganger Evil Twin House, which is a duplication of the Sharon Tate murder house. It's located just 150 feet down the hill from the murder scene. 10048, and then directly across the street is what I would call the invisible house. The invisible house is 10060. You can have some fun Googling that house. First of all, the homes on the right side of Cielo Drive as you go uphill, which is the east side, they're all odd numbers. So I don't know why the invisible house has an even number. 10060. It's directly across the driveway from 10048. 10048 is on Cielo Drive. 10060 is on Cielo Drive, but it's invisible. It's an invisible house. And it borders 10051 Cielo Drive. All right? And to make things doubly disturbing, it also borders 1303 Shady Brook Drive. That's what I said. Shady Brook Drive. Check it out. Check out the corner of Cielo Drive at Shady Brook Drive. You can Google 1303 Shady Brook Drive. It borders 10060, the invisible house, which has no driveway or front gate access. Yet, from the helicopter view, has a large, substantially similar roundabout for cars up on a steep hillside that could only feed cars in from a tunnel system. And my supposition is the tunnel system comes in from the Doris Duke's house at 1436 Bella Drive and the next door neighbor at 1440 Bella Drive. You'll notice they have a long driveway that runs between the Doris Duke house at 1436 and 144 Bella. There's a long driveway that goes downhill to the invisible house 10060, and it just truncates. And I'm thinking that it goes into a tunnel and then pops out, a couple hundred yards later at the invisible house on Cielo Drive that has no access from Cielo Drive. In other words, you have to go to Bella Drive and get through the security gate and go down a driveway into a tunnel to get to 10060. So I wonder what they do there, and I wonder if 10051 participates or is a companion piece. I believe it probably is. 10051 Cielo Drive is accessible and has parking in front on Cielo Drive. But the home I'm more interested in is the invisible house, 10060 Cielo Drive, only accessible from Bella Drive. You see what I'm talking about here? I'll give you another example. Over on Sunbrook Drive, which I believe is the single most important residences that murdered Sharon Tate and Abigail Folger, I'll give you the addresses. 100100 Sunbrook Drive. 100106 Sunbrook Drive, where Timothy Leary lived and Oliver Stone visited. 10114 Sunbrook Drive. 10101 Sunbrook Drive, which shares the driveway with 1212 Angelo Drive. Now, here's the thing. So there's a house, 1212 Angelo Drive, which I've already told you, Angelo Drive's a vital artery to the murder scene. It's the single most important road to get to the murder scene is Angelo Drive. Not Cielo Drive, Angelo Drive. Angelo Drive is quicker access, quicker in, quicker out. Angelo Drive. And at 1212, there is no driveway. There is no mailbox. There is no access. There is a staircase, but there's no parking. In order for you to visit 1212 or to do a UPX or a FedEx delivery, you've got to turn onto Sunbrook Drive, and you have to go to 10101 Sunbrook Drive and go up the driveway, because at the end of that driveway is 12112 Angelo Drive is at 10101 Sunbrook Drive. Does that seem confusing to you? That Angelo Drive is only accessible by Sunbrook Drive. That's military. That's very military. And they're both directly below the pool house where Abigail Folger was murdered, next door to, where this William Garrickson, I don't believe he was on the property. I think they removed him from the property with the 3 dogs, and they took him down to 1212 Angelo Drive and stuck him in that home until they were done with the murders, with the bayonet murders, the NATO bayonet murders, and then brought him back onto the pool house and, kept in a sedated state, carried him, whatever. It's just up a steep hillside. And there actually is a little walking trail that goes up to the pool house. It's not visible unless you look very carefully. Anyway, there's all kinds of construction going on at 101. There's another 10101 Angelo View Drive, not to be confused with 10101 Sunbrook Drive. They use the same friggin' numbers on these different streets. They're in close proximity, but they're on different streets. Cul-de-sacs. So Angelo View Drive is a cul-de-sac. Sunbrook Drive is a cul-de-sac. Bella Drive is a cul-de-sac. Cielo Drive, off Cielo Drive is a cul-de-sac. That's 4 cul-de-sacs. Except I'm telling you the Cielo Drive cul-de-sac is really a Bella Drive cul-de-sac. So in my vernacular, because I'm so familiar with the property, I'm saying there are 3 cul-de-sacs which back up to where Sharon Tate was murdered, okay? And I'm saying that the Doris Duke house at 1436 Bella Drive, which is there's only 4 houses on Bella Drive. There's only 4 houses, and the very first house you'll come to is the Rudy Valentino Doris Duke house, 1436. And I believe that the driveway adjacent to her home, because she has 2 driveways. She has a driveway where you'd park to visit, and then there's this mysterious driveway that goes to the east side of her home, down a steep hill, and then just truncates. And I believe that goes to the mystery house of 10060 Cielo Drive that has no access from Cielo Drive. It's exactly a duplication of the 1212 Angelo Drive that has no access from Angelo Drive. So we have the same situation in close proximity where we have an address of a home that you can't access from that address. One requires a tunnel system. The other requires that you go on an entirely different street called Sunbrook Drive and use a driveway that belongs to a Sunbrook Drive. It's like the Bat Cave. Remember the CBS film Batman? And they had the Bat Cave and he came out from the hedgerow? We have that situation in Bennedict Canyon. And we have that situation on Angelo Drive, Angelo View Drive, 10048 Cielo Drive, the Doppelganger twin house. Could there be a tunnel system that takes you from the Doppelganger twin to the murder scene? Of course! That would be very easy. And we know that the military was all about tunnel systems because at the time that the Sharon Tate murder house was being built, Disney Corporation with the United States Air Force was building Lookout Mountain and the underground Disney facility at 8935 Wonderland Avenue, 100,000 square feet, 5 studios underground atop Laurel Canyon, looking out at Coldwater Canyon, above where Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds ended up living. Right above where they lived is an underground facility. It's over 100,000 square feet underground. Why couldn't they build a tunnel from the Sharon Tate scene to the home below or the homes on Sunbrook? Of course they could. Of course they could. That would be easy peasy. I've heard rumors that the Playboy Mansion has a tunnel system, and I'll be specific that the tunnel system from the Playboy Club led to Warren Beatty's home when he lived on Sunset Boulevard, which is very close to the Playboy Mansion. And that they're saying that the tunnel system went under the golf course at the Los Angeles Country Club and over to Warren Beatty's house. I don't know. And that it went to Kirk Douglas's house and James Caan. Those 3 had access to a tunnel system where you could walk over to the Playboy Mansion. I've also heard rumors that the Getty Museum has a tunnel system. Now that really disturbs me because I did an airplane flight with a guy who was taking the chief financial officer job for the Getty Museum. I'll never forget that. We had a 90-minute conversation about the Getty Museum and the construction. He was going to be in charge of the construction of the Getty Museum and all that. We talked about the travertine marble that they were getting from Mexico and all the work that had to be done and all the excavation. And I was thinking to myself, gee, I wonder if they have a tunnel system there. Well, of course they do. Of course they do. And what can you use these underground facilities for? Child trafficking, criminal activities? Of course. Of course. I already knew with the Beverly Hillbillies Mansion, 750 Bel Air Road, or where Art Lanklatter lived, across the street from Zsa Zsa Gabor and Julio Iglesias, that they live in private enclaves with no sidewalks. So you could do porn films, you could have all kinds of activities. We know from the Jack Nicholson home that he had a rape of a 13-year-old child, by Roman Polanski, who was 43 years old, and Samantha Gailey was 13 years old, raped at 12850 Mulholland Drive, Jack Nicholson's home, when he allegedly was in Colorado for a ski trip. But Angelica Houston was home. She was living there. She was 25 years old, living at this crime scene. That happened on March 10th, 1977. And we know the next door neighbor was Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando, who was trained by Stella Adler at the Actors Studio, New York. Stella Adler, Yiddish Jewish woman, who worked with Lee Strasberg, another Jewish Yiddish person, Ukrainian Jew, in New York, where they teach method acting. Method acting is pathological lying. How to be a pathological liar by Jewish Lee Strasberg and Jewish Stella Adler, who's the same age. They were both born in 1901. And they trained Marlon Brando, and they trained they trained Warren Beatty. They did not train Jack Nicholson. So it looks like Jack Nicholson was a natural pathological liar. He didn't need extra training like Warren Beatty did and Marlon Brando did, method acting training. But you should know that Warren Beatty was charged with the rape of a 14-year-old girl, Christina Charlotte Hirsch. In 1973, it's alleged that Warren Beatty, the star of Bonnie and Clyde, who won an Academy Award for Best Actor, that he raped a 14-year-old Christina Charlotte Hirsch. Oh, yes. In the lawsuit, Warren Beatty is identified as Defendant Doe because they didn't want to trash his beautiful image of Hollywood. His older sister being Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine that met Nikita Khrushchev in 1959 at the Paramount Studios, along with Marilyn Monroe and Frank Sinatra and what was his name? Cooper. I forgot the name of the cowboy star, Gary Cooper, I think. Anyway, they integrate all of these pathological liars, which is what an actor is, into politics and into CIA operations. That's the point of method acting. All right, so wanted to also tell you that Warren Beatty lived directly above the crime scene also. He lived at Mulholland Drive, and I'll give you the address. He didn't live there at the time of the murder. I believe he was living on Sunset Boulevard at the time of the Sharon Tate murders. But later, with Annette Bening, he moved to Mulholland Drive, and he moved to 13671 Mulholland Drive. He's about 700 yards away from Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson's address, which straddle Summit Ridge Drive, right, which is gated in multiple areas. If you look at Benedict Canyon, the greater area, Warren Beatty actually lived, very much directly above where Benedict Canyon punches out onto Mulholland Drive. He's walking distance from that intersection, real close. And he's got a swimming pool that looks out, at the Playboy Mansion and Rodeo Drive below. And then from his east side of his mansion, which is 10,000 square foot, he sees San Fernando Valley looking toward Studio City, Van Nuys. That's his view from the east side of his property. From the south side of the property, he looks at Benedict Canyon, Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, and Santa Monica. And he is on the north side of Mulholland Drive. So he has to look over Mulholland Drive to see his view of Rodeo Drive and the Playboy Mansion. Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando, they were on the south side of Mulholland Drive, and they looked out at Franklin Canyon, Century City, Rodeo Drive, Santa Monica. That's where their views were. And you should know that Jack Nicholson purchased his home at 12850, where the rape happened with Roman Polanski. He bought that home and closed July 10th, 1969. Just 30 days before the Sharon Tate murder, Jack Nicholson was living above the murder site at 12850 Mulholland Drive near Summit Ridge Drive, which is a surveillance location to the murder scene where Sharon Tate was murdered. As is the Doris Duke house. As is the Art Linkletter house. As is the Beverly Hillbillies, the Clampett's home at 750 Bel Air Road. That's a surveillance house. Art Linkletter at 1100 Bel Air Road. That's a surveillance house. I'm not sure if Zsa Zsa Gabor could see the murder house. It's possible from her upstairs bedroom that she could. In the case of Julio Iglesias, I say no. He looked out at Stone Canyon Reservoir, and his address is 1100 Bel Air Place. Bel Air Place. It's a cul-de-sac. You could say that Art Linkletter's address is on a cul-de-sac also, because Bel Air Road does not go through to Mulholland. It becomes no trespassing, and it dives down to Stone Mountain Reservoir, which is a military-protected watershed, if you didn't know, as is Franklin Canyon, which is directly below Jack Nicholson's home. Anyway, that's what I wanted to point out today to you and give you some specific addresses that you can fool around and Google with. But the thing is that Initially, I thought it was like 6 to 10 houses, you know, around the Sharon Tate murder scene, but it's actually much more. It's more like 36 to 40 houses that all could participate in operations, whether it's a porn film, whether it's a cocktail party, whether it's a homicide where 5 people get bayoneted. It matters not. Those homes are all controlled in the cul-de-sac concept. You know that Roman Polanski did a film entitled Cul-de-sac. I believe that was in 1967 that he did Cul-de-sac. And everything about the murder of Sharon Tate and Benedict Canyon and Laurel Canyon and Coldwater Canyon is about the concepts of cul-de-sacs and how they're dead ends. In other words, that you can seal them off and you can control the entry and exit from the properties, as is RB Drive and Ellison Drive, where we had what looks like a hoax shooting, which is directly below the Warren Beatty property. Although I believe Warren Beatty sold the house in 2012. I believe they moved from the Mulholland Drive address, which was at 13671. I think they were not living there when we had this latest hoax in 2023 in January 28th. Take care now. Have a great day. Bye-bye.